Hello everyone. Thanks for coming on to catch the very first lesson of Biblical Greek or Koine Greek. My name's Stephen Webb, typically just go by Steve. I pastor Mill Creek Church of God in Chapmanville, West Virginia, and I also run Renewed Ministries. It's a mission work dedicated to equipping, educating, and evangelizing. We try to educate and equip the saints. And one of the focuses that we're going to try to do is to try to shift to where we can put more information and more teaching and training online to help lower some of the cost for what we do in travel. In other words, I feel like I can be as effective teaching through video and putting courses up as I can traveling. So we're in the very beginning stages of doing a home studio. If you would like to help with any of that, certainly you can visit our website, and it's got all the information there on how you can help. Another thing I want to tell you about me is why I'm qualified to help you learn Koine Greek or Biblical Greek. Part of my training is rooted at Pentecostal Theological Seminary. I did an undergraduate degree in Bible and Theology at Lee University through their Division of Adult Learning, through their online programs, and went from there to doing a Master of Theological Studies in Biblical Studies at Pentecostal Theological Seminary. Now that is a very academic degree, not a lot of practical side to that, but that was by design on my part. I wanted to go for the academic side of it. And part of that particular program, it's a 60-hour master's program, but part of that program is taking both biblical languages and then also doing book studies in a biblical language. My area of specialty would be in the New Testament. So I took Greek. I took actually 2 semesters of Greek at a graduate level through seminary. But then I also did 2 Corinthians, Mark, Hebrews, the Gospel of John, and 1st, 2nd, 3rd John in Greek. So that's a total of 21 hours of training in things concerning the Greek language. To be able to teach at a university, the qualifications are typically that you had to have had 15 hours at a graduate level to be able to teach that subject at an undergraduate level. So some of the things given that I'm qualified to teach and will be doing videos on in due time. I'm going to finish out Greek first, which is going to take somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 8 months or so. We've got some 30-some lessons to go through, and I'm going to try to do a lesson a week, maybe a little bit more, combine some lessons, have a little bit more time in between others, but we're looking at roughly a 6 to 8 month period. But I'm qualified to teach Greek at a university level, at a 4-year degree university level. I would also be qualified to teach general New Testament studies. I would also be qualified to teach Old Testament because I've had Old Testament, I've had 2 semesters of Hebrew, and I've had a couple of book studies. So I've got the 15 hours there as well. And then the other thing would be biblical interpretation, given all the book studies, and also I've taken biblical hermeneutics. And of course, all of this is at a graduate level. And then I would also be qualified to teach most anything on Johannine literature or doctrine as well. So we will get into some of those in due time. I'll make those videos and we'll get them up on the subscriber side of things as well. So let's talk a little bit about Greek. Now, as I mentioned, specifically, this is Koine Greek. And Greek, much like English, has a history that varies quite a bit. There's an evolution to language as you go. When you look at English, for example, and I'm going to put some examples on the screen as I talk about these, but we went from Old English, which was written between, or utilized between 500 to 1100 AD. Then we evolved, that language evolved, and there's some overlap period in there, but it evolved into Middle English, and that was utilized typically between about 1100 to 1500 AD. And then around 1500, we started seeing this evolution that moved into modern English. Now that evolution takes some time, and a good example is the 1611 King James Version Bible. in that Bible, and you see here a little bit of Psalms, you see some letters that do not look exactly as our letters now. For example, in Psalms, it looks like a PFALMS, but indeed what it is a long S. It's a P and a long S, which is a letter no longer used, and it went out of style with Middle English, but it was still around some, even in 1611 as the King James Version was put into print. So there's that evolution, and then even as you're looking at the text here of the 1611 King James Version, you can see that it really looks nothing like our modern English today. And that's because even within these time frames of language from 1500 to present, there have really been three evolutions of the English language. You started out with early English, and then it moved into a late English. And of course, today we have our modern English. Well, Greek underwent much the same evolution. So what we're going to study is a very particular time frame of the Greek language that is centered around the New Testament. But to give you a little bit of background on the Greek language and to help you understand part of what we're doing, you're not going to be able to take this Greek language and move it to today's culture and be able to understand or communicate with someone from Greece or that speaks modern Greek, because we are going to go back in time. So Greek started with Proto-Greek around 2200 BC. That lasted until about 1900 BC. There went through an evolution that brought you to Mycenaean Greek, which was from about 1600 BC to 1100 BC. And from there, we move into an ancient Greek. And ancient Greek went through different dialects, much like I explained to you with the modern English today, where we had a early, a late, and a modern. Ancient Greek had Attic, Ionic, Doric, and Aeolic, and some others. So the Ionic and the Aeolic were kind of blended to be a Homeric Greek. If you would go back and try to read the Iliad with Koine Greek, you're going to understand some, but not all. The same thing with Odyssey. Homer took those two dialects and he utilized that for his writings. The Ionic actually evolved more into an Attic Greek over time. So Attic Greek is a subset or a branch of Ionic Greek. And then that Attic Greek eventually, somewhere around about 350 BC to 300 BC, evolved into Koine or Common Greek. That happened during Alexander the Great, and that lasted through about 600 AD. So it is that language, and right at the height of that Common Greek language from ancient times, that was spoken and written during the New Testament period. That's what we're going to look at. Now from there, just for your information, it moved to a Byzantine Greek, which lasted from 600 AD to about 1500 AD. And then today we're in modern Greek, which was from about 1500 forward. Much like modern English started about 1500, so did modern Greek. Most of our modern things come out of that Renaissance period. The Greek alphabet that we will look at in a moment really came into being or came into canonization about 403 BC. There were some letters that fell out. You know, I was telling you like the long S that kind of looks like an F in the King James, and I'll put that back up for you to where it looks, where it's Psalms, but it looks like Psalms. There were some letters in the Greek that were the same way. For example, there was a Sampi, and then there was a Kopa. The Kopa and Kappa both made a K sound. So the Kopa fell out of favor. The Kappa, which we will look at here in a bit, came into being. Now, even in studying Greek, there are some differences of opinion, particularly on pronunciation. There's a Koine pronunciation, and I'm talking specifically of the time frame of Greek that we're going to be looking at. There was a Koine, or that ancient pronunciation. There is an Erasmian pronunciation, which is just an anglicized version of the Koine. And the Greek grammar that I teach from, that I utilize, which is Machen, and I'll link that for you in the description, and I'll put a picture of it up for you to see. But Machen is most closely trying to replicate that Erasmian anglicized pronunciation of the Koine Greek. And then there's also a modern pronunciation. So the way we pronounce this Koine Greek is in some ways not even going to sound like the modern Greek, which evolved during the Byzantine era and come into modern pronunciation now. There's also in Greek, much like what you have in English, there is a large or uppercase and lowercase. In Greek, it's called majuscule and minuscule. We are going to learn basically the minuscule. I will show you the majuscule, but the minuscule or the small letters are the most important. There's also an uncial, which is basically just a script version of the majuscule. We will not be looking at that. So we will learn the minuscule, the small lowercase letters, because that is what you're going to find in all of your scripts in today's time. That's what you're going to find when you pick up a Greek Bible. That's what you're going to find if you look up Greek text online. So we're going to look at that. We'll look at it with punctuation. We will look at how things are formed and all of that. But I want to give you a little background also on the writing of the Greek language. And there was a time when Greek was written scriptio continua, which means a continuous script. There were no breaks, there was no punctuation, and in fact, it was all written in majuscule letters. So a couple of different things to highlight kind of what I'm talking about in English to help you understand one is God is nowhere, or God is now here. You can see as it's all crammed together there into a single line. It really depends on what you know, what you understand to be being said. It takes some effort on your part to get to the point to where you can just understand that as a Christian and you're reading the Bible, that is God is now here. It's not that God is nowhere. He is now here. Another good example of that would be, let's go eat David. And as you can see, that on your screen there. Punctuation makes a lot of difference into what's being said as well. So if you just separate this out into let's go eat David, you could be talking about cannibals. There's no break or no punctuation in there, so it's quite possible that you would be talking to your friend and you're giving them a little jab in the ribs and you're saying, come on, let's go eat David. Where if you put a comma after the eat, then all of a sudden you are talking with your friend David and you're asking him or inviting him to go eat with you. So that punctuation makes a lot of difference, and that's why we get some variations. Even within the Greek text, there are variations. For example, I have 3 different printed versions of the Greek Bible. I have the UBS Bible, and I'll put up a better thing of that and a link to that as well. That is kind of the academic standard for translation is the UBS. I think we're on our 5th edition now. That's what I have from the United Bible Society. That's the gold standard for academic work and translation purposes. I also have a complete Bible, which is Hebrew text and then also a Greek text. That is the Nestle Allen, I think that's the 28th edition. So that is a form of the Greek text. I also have a Cambridge Tyndale, and I got it simply to have a leather-bound Greek version. I will link all of those for you. I personally prefer the Tyndale Bible because the Tyndale Greek, and it just simply says the Greek New Testament produced at Tyndale House, Cambridge. Cambridge University Press. So what they've tried to replicate is they've tried to go back to about 400 or 500 AD, and they've tried to take the earliest possible text they could find and punctuate and break the text up the way it was at that particular point. Plus, the order of the books is a little different. In this particular New Testament, they've ordered them more along the lines of how they were ordered during that time frame. The Apocalypse of Iona, which is Revelation is what we call it, is still last, but you don't have Jude standing just before that, or the epistles of John. What you have is to the Hebrews. And then you have the Pauline letters before that. So the order is a little bit different. I actually prefer that particular Greek Bible just for my personal reading and study. So with that being said, I'm going to start giving you a little bit of Greek today. And we will look at the alphabet. We're also going to look a little bit at pronunciation of each letter. You'll get a little bit of grammar lesson as we look at diphthongs and punctuation and things of that nature, because all of that is a little bit different. So in your Greek alphabet, it is a little bit different than what you have in English. You have different letters written in a different way. Typically what you're going to want to do with the Greek letters is you're going to want to keep your pen on the paper. So the very first Greek letter is alpha. So you'll start here, and it looks very much like our A, but you will start up, you will come down around just as that. That is the first letter, alpha. It is pronounced as we would pronounce the A in father. So it is an ah sound. Now, the letter that you see written there is the minuscule. The majuscule, the uppercase letter, would be just like our uppercase A. It would be that. Letter 2, the second letter, next letter of the alphabet is beta. So the beta is going to start a little bit below the line. It's going to come up, and then from there it's going to look very much like our modern B. That is beta. Again, you're not lifting your pen from the paper. You're just making the letter. The majuscule of that letter would look exactly like our modern B. And the pronunciation of beta is like our modern B. It's a B, as in boy or bus or bat. The next letter is gamma. Your gamma is going to start here on the left. You're going to come down below the line. You're going to come back up just like that. So gamma, just like that. Now that is your minuscule, your lowercase. Your uppercase is going to look very, very different. So it's going to almost look like a hangman. That is going to be your gamma for your uppercase. It almost looks like a blown up or expanded R, lowercase r, or a hangman if you're playing the hangman game. That is gamma. So gamma is going to have a G pronunciation is in got or get or go, except when it is before a kappa, a chi, a xi, or another gamma. We'll hit those other letters in a bit. You'll see them, but when it is paired with one of those other letters, a kappa, a chi, a xi, or another gamma, it is going to be pronounced like an NG sound, as in sing. So again, this is your gamma. You're going to start here, you're going to come down and up, or if you're looking at the majuscule, it's going to be just like a big hangman. And that's going to be your G sound. Your next letter would be delta. You're going to start here, and you're going to come down and around, such as that. Delta. Now, your majuscule, your uppercase delta, is basically going to be a triangle. That is your delta. Delta is going to have a D sound. Dog, door. Same pronunciation as we have in English. Epsilon is E. Epsilon. Your majuscule or your uppercase is going to look like our uppercase E. That is going to be a short E sound as in get, as in get. Next letter is zeta. You're going to start here, you're going to come around, such as that. Zeta. Your uppercase zeta is going to look just like our modern Z. That is going to make a DZ sound, like a Z sound. Your next letter will be eta. So you will have what looks like almost a cursive N. And as an English speaker, that is one of the hard things to do with Greek, is to get used to the letters that look similar to ours but have a totally different sound. Eta is one of those. Eta. The uppercase eta is entirely different. It's going to look like our modern H. Eta. Eta. Eta is going to have a long A sound as in late. A as in late. Your next letter will be theta. Now, what they tell you to do traditionally to make this is to not lift your pen again. You're going to come like that. So you're going to start here, you're going to come around and align straight through the middle. Typically what I do, and it has worked well for me, is I will just make an O and come back and put a line through the middle. The majuscule is exactly the same. It is a line through the middle. That is theta. It's going to have a TH sound, like this or that or thing, something of that nature. Something. Theta. Theta. Your next letter is iota. Looks just like our I, except there is no dot, no diacritic over it. You're just making an I. The majuscule or the uppercase is exactly the same. It is looks like our I, and it can be long or short in its pronunciation. It can be like an I sound as in pizza, or if it is long, so it's going to have that E sound, or it can be short like pit, I. So it can be E or I, pizza or pit. That's your iota. Your next letter is kappa. Now, kappa, typically, I try to make it as they have suggested in the grammar, which is a single line. You will come down and up and then back and down. So you're kind of retracing your lines. But as you can see, kappa looks very much like our K. In fact, the majuscule looks identical to our K, and the minuscule looks the same as well. That is kappa, and it does have a K pronunciation like kept or key. The next letter is lambda. You're going to come down, and this is one you do have to pick your pen or your pencil up. So you're going to make a line top left, bottom right. You're going to come back and you're going to put a little leg to prop that up. Lambda. Your majuscule, your uppercase lambda, is very different. It's that. So minuscule, majuscule, lambda. Lambda is going to have an L sound, as in lobby or labor, L. Your next letter is mu. You're going to start below the line, you're going to come up, and then it's almost going to make what looks to be like a U, but it's not. Mu. Mu. Now your majuscule looks like our uppercase M in modern times. Mu. Mu is going to have that M pronunciation, as in money or make, Mercedes, M, mu. Your next letter, this is another one, much like we had the eta. here that looks like an N, but it has that long A sound, Ada. The next letter is much the same. It is nu. Looks like a V. The minuscule looks like a V. The majuscule does look like our N, but the minuscule is that. And that is nu. And it does have that N pronunciation to that. Nu, as in new, or net. Your next letter is one that we really don't have a letter that makes this particular sound in English. It is xi. So xi is a little different. It looks like a majuscule, but it's really a minuscule letter. It is going to come here, and you're going to make a little circle, and it's going to kind of look like an E, right? But you're putting it, make sure you're putting that loop on the top, you're kind of looping the middle, and you're coming around, and then you're coming back down below the line. Xi. Xi. So if you were putting the English transliteration, it would be xi there, xi. Let me go back here and help you review a little bit. So we've got alpha, we've got beta, and we've got your gamma, we've got delta, we've got epsilon, we've got zeta, we've got eta, and then we've got your theta, we've got your iota, we've got kappa, we've got your lambda, mu, nu, and xi. So it would be a, b, g, d, e, z, a, th, th sound. Can be long or short. E as in pizza, or I as in pit. K, l, m, n, and the xi, xi is a ks sound, a x sound. Like I said, we really don't have that particular sound in English, so it makes it a little difficult for modern English speakers. But the important thing is that you understand the letter, know the letter, to be able to do the research later on. Next letter we have is Omicron. So let me change up a little bit here. We'll write that down for you here. Your minuscule is just like a lowercase o. Your majuscule, same thing, is just going to be like an uppercase O. Omicron. It is a O as in porridge, so that short O sound. We've got a different letter that will make the long O sound. Let me go to a different sheet here just to kind of clean you up a little bit. Help you try not to look. We'll write them all back again as we come to an end in the video. After Omicron, you have pi. Some may be familiar with that particular symbol from mathematics, pi r squared. To find the diameter of a circle, I believe, is what that formula is for. But pi is, again, one of those you have to lift your pen, two lines down and then the wavy line over top, just like that. Your majuscule looks almost identical to that, except you're really not going to come out past the edges. So your minuscule will come up past the edges a little bit. Your uppercase is just going to be like that, your majuscule, and that's pi. It's going to have that p sound as we do in English. Your next letter is rho. It is going to be another one of those that look a little bit different from how it sounds because of the way our brain works in English. Rho, your lowercase or your minuscule is going to be that. That. Looks like our P, right? Looks like our P. That's going to be your minuscule rho. Your majuscule also looks like our capital P. But it does not sound like that. This is row. So we have to change our brains. We have to train our brains a little bit. This is going to make an R sound, like rigatoni or ridge or rig, something of that nature. So row, row. It's going to be your R. The next letter is sigma. This I'll make a little different. So they tell you to start here. If you can see here, they tell you to start here and come this way and around and then come out. I typically just go here and then out. It all works the same. That sigma, your uppercase, is going to look kind of weird. It's going to look like that. That's going to be your majuscule. Sigma is that. Your minuscule is that. That is sigma. It is going to have an S sound, as in simple or save. But it takes on a different form when it comes at the end of a word. So if you were to make form plural into forms, instead of putting that at the end, you would change it to that. Looks very much like our modern S, but if you note, instead of coming here, like we would write in English, it really starts a little lower, and that bottom part's going to extend down below the line. So that's going to be your final form for sigma. That only comes at the end of a word. It will take on this form. Anywhere else in the word, it will take on this form. And of course, the majuscule is just going to come at the front end of a word, so it would always be that form there. Your next letter will be tau. And again, this is one you have to lift the pen. Looks just like our modern T. Just like our modern T, and even the majuscule is the same. So tau. And it is going to have that T sound like toggle or try. Tau. Corresponds with our modern T. Your next word, your next letter is upsilon. Now it looks very much like our U, upsilon. The majuscule does look quite different. It's going to be like that. Upsilon. Upsilon. It's going to have like a French U or a German U with the umlaut over top of it. In the text, it says that the double O sound like we get in boot is acceptable, but it's like a sound. So upsilon. That is going to be your next letter. We have 4 letters left. Let me once again go to a different paper here, just to try to make some room for you to be able to see exactly what it is I'm doing. After upsilon, we have phi. So your phi is going to start here, come around, and then we're going to come down. So you're going to have a line through the middle vertically. If you remember, I'm going to pull the paper back over and show you. Earlier, we had this letter theta right here. All right, theta, as I showed you, and we'll come down, I think, let me come up here. You can see here. You come around and back through the middle horizontally. That's theta. When you come vertically through it, such as so, that is phi. It has that PH sound like you would get at the start of phone. So in other words, it's really more of an F, so phi. Your majuscule is going to be the same way. In print, it's really going to look like a capital O with a capital I superimposed over top of it. Phi. Phi. Your next letter is chi. Looks like our X. And your majuscule and your minuscule are both going to look the same. Chi. It's going to give you that German CH as in Bach. So you get that little guttural sound at the back. So it gives you that sound. Next letter is psi. Now this is another one you have to pick your pen up. You're going to have that and then that. So basically it looks like the U or the upsilon, and then you're coming back and you're putting a line that extends down below the line. That is psi. Your majuscule is going to look very much the same. It's going to be just up there, almost like a candelabra. That's kind of how it looks. Psi. It's going to give you your PS sound. That would be like would start at the start of Psalms. Psaltery. Things of that sort. Your final letter in the Greek alphabet is omega. If you remember the Omicron, I told you was always short, as in porridge. That's your would be your basically your O. This one here. That's always short. Omega is always long, and it's a long O, as in note, but it's another one of those that look like a different letter. That's your omega. Your minuscule omega. It looks very much like our modern W. You need to be aware that you are pronouncing that properly. It takes some time. Be very patient with this because the first week or even 2 weeks, you're probably going to at times go through and you're going to pronounce that omega instead of a long O. You'll pronounce it like an English W. Or you'll hit the gamma and you might pronounce it like English Y instead of the G. Or you might hit that eta, and instead of the long A sound, the A, you'll want to pronounce it like an N. Or you'll hit nu, and instead of saying it like an N, you'll say it like a V. So it takes a little time to retrain your brain and study, and being patient and staying with it. It only comes through much study and much time put into it. So that is omega. Always a long O sound, as in note or dote or tote. Your majuscule omega is going to look very different. It looks like that. So that is your majuscule omega. So just a little scripture for you. When you read in Scripture that Christ is the Alpha and the Omega, if you'll remember, this is sheet number 1. We had Alpha. And now we have come to the end of the Greek alphabet, and we have Omega. So in other words, Jesus Christ stands as the Alpha. He stands at the front or the head of everything, but he is also our Omega. And he is the beginning and the end, the author and the finisher of our faith. Jesus Christ, the Alpha and the Omega. So let's cover a couple of other things here. I know this isn't going to be ideal, but I want to try to make sure you can see some of what I am talking about as I talk about it. So I'm sure that probably doesn't look very good on the main camera, but I'm going to switch between the two just so you can see a little bit of what I'm talking about with diphthongs and the sort. So let's do a quick recap of your alphabet here. And I'm going to have my notes in front of me just so I don't mess up anything. Even after 21 hours at a graduate level, it is still a secondary language to me. I won't necessarily say a second language, but it is secondary. And sometimes when you're doing secondary things, your brain can get a little mixed up, and you need a little help from time to time. And that's really the purpose of doing this, is not so you can be proficient in Greek and use it as a second language and be bilingual. But really the purpose behind this is to help you to be able to do better research and better study. That when you look in a commentary and you come across the Greek words, you understand the terminology, but you also know how to pronounce the Greek words. It just makes study much richer and much better. And then one of my favorite study tools is the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament. It is a massive multi-volume set on the Greek language. And you really cannot use that unless you know Greek, just because of the nature of how it is written. So that's really the purpose of this, is to be able to help you to study and research, not necessarily be able to communicate effectively as a bilingual English and Greek speaker. So in other words, even after a lot of years and a lot of study, your mind will still get tripped up a little bit. So you've got your alpha, your beta, your gamma, delta, epsilon, your zeta, your eta, your theta, your iota. Let me get flipped over here and we'll do the kappa and lambda. Kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, xi. Let's do that one again because it's very different. Xi. Then you have your omicron. Come down here, we've got pi. We've got your rho, R sound, sigma, unless it stands at the end of the word, and then you'll have sigma. And you also have your tau, you have your upsilon, you have phi, chi, psi, and omega. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, psi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, and omega. That is your Greek alphabet. So a couple of things I covered the pronunciation that you really need to stress with the eta, that you don't pronounce it like an N, but the long A sound. So this is your eta. Your nu, you didn't pronounce it like an English V, but rather an N sound. Rho, that you don't do as a P, but rather you do as a R. Also, your omega is not a W sound, it is a long O sound, always a long O. Gamma, in some print that can be easy to mistake as an English Y, but rather it is a hard G, like guess, unless it is with another letter, or if you have it with a kappa, or a chi, or your xi. So if you have a kappa and a gamma, it's going to be a K, like an NG. If you have a chi and a gamma, or a xi and a gamma, or vice versa, or if you have a gamma and a gamma. So always remember that pronunciation. It's a hard G, not a Y, but if it comes with one of these other letters or this letter itself, gamma itself, two of them together, you're going to pronounce it as NG, as in sing, or ring, or ding, or ping. We can use all kinds of NG sounds. There's also the Chi, we want to make sure that when we do chi, that we are not doing just a X sound. You remember we've got the xi for that, but rather this is going to be like a breathy K, like Bach, the CH at the end of Bach. Your vowels are going to be as follows. So you've got short vowels in Greek, just like you do in English, and you also have long vowels. Your short vowels are going to be your alpha, your epsilon, your omicron, your iota, and your upsilon. Your long is going to be alpha, eta, omega, iota, and upsilon. So you can see your epsilon is always going to be short. Your omicron is always going to be short. Your alpha can be short or long. Your iota can be short or long. Your upsilon can be short or long. The eta and the omega are always long, always. You can also do what is called a diphthong. We have those in English as well. It's just two vowels together. And these bring about a different pronunciation in the Greek. So if you have an alpha and an iota, that is going to be pronounced basically like our AI. So alpha iota is going to be an I sound, such as an aisle. If you have an epsilon and an iota, that is going to be pronounced like a long A, as in fate. Thus, your epsilon, iota, and then also your eta are pronounced exactly alike. Another common diphthong would be your omicron and your iota, which would be pronounced just like we would in English, really, with an OI, as in oil. So your omicron, iota would be oi. Your alpha and your upsilon would be pronounced like the OW in cow, so it's going to make an owl sound. We also have an epsilon, upsilon. That can be a little fun to say. Epsilon, upsilon is going to be pronounced like the EU in feud. So U. We also have an omicron, upsilon, diphthong, and that is going to be pronounced like two O's. It's going to be like food, like the OO in food. We also have an upsilon iota that's going to give you a sound that you would get like from the UEE in queen. So it's going to be like a whee. So you're going to have a little bit of a breath in front of it, like we, with almost an H in front of, like a whee. So those are going to be your common diphthongs. As we move on, you will also encounter a diphthong that is written a little bit differently. So whenever you encounter a diphthong that is formed by a long alpha, an eta, or an omega. So the long alpha, eta, or omega, which both are always long. When you have that long vowel and then the iota is written underneath the other letter. Now you will see this quite frequently as we get into declensions, conjugations of various words. So in other words, you would have your alpha, but instead of that, you're going to have that. Same thing with your eta. You'd have the eta, but then the iota would be underneath. Actually quite small in print. Same thing with omega. You would have the iota underneath. Very, very small in print. And I will try to find a thing to put up here for you on the screen. So let's do one quick and final look at one more thing, punctuation. Punctuation does require a little bit of special attention. So in English, we have our period, we have our comma, we have our colon, our semicolon, question mark. And we're familiar with how those look. In Greek, they're written a little different. Both the period and the comma, though, are going to be exactly the same. It's going to be just a dot on the line or your comma. Both of those are exactly the same. In English, we have a colon or a semicolon, which provides this stop, but within the same sentence. In Greek, you do not have those. What you have is just a single dot that is in the middle of the line. So instead of a colon or a semicolon, you have this. You have this dot that is in the middle of your line. And the question mark is going to look like a semicolon. So if something is written as a question in Greek, instead of getting to the end and having your common question mark, what you're accustomed to seeing, what you're going to see stand at the end of the sentence is simply what we look at as a semicolon. But that in Greek is your question mark. Okay, one final thing I'm going to put up for you, and I'm going to screenshot it, and I'll also put a slide of this behind the paywall for subscribers only, to where you can look at this and practice your pronunciation of Greek. I'm going to put up the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. And it's really just to help you get familiar with the alphabet, with the language, and with the pronunciation a little bit. I wanted to tell you what it was so you could maybe start piecing together a little bit of what words are what. John 1, 1 through 5 would read,
In arche ein hologos, kai hologos ein proston theon, kai theos ein hologos. Hutas ein in arche proston theon, panta di autou egeneto, kai kodes autou egeneto ude in. Ho gegonin in autou zoe ein, kai he zoe ein tuphos anthropon, kai tuphos in te scotia phine, kai he scotia autou ou katalaban.
Let's go to the end of verse 3. So if you will notice at the end of verse 3, I did not say N-O gegonin. Instead, it was hin-ho gegonin. And if you will notice over the epsilon and over the omicron, instead of a mark that faces out like an apostrophe, what you have is a mark that comes the other way, almost like a C that is rather open. That is a rough breathing mark. When you see the rough breathing mark, it will be, it's only at the front of the word and over the vowel, and it tells you whether it has a H sound attached with it or whether it is just a smooth breathing. If it's a smooth breathing, for example, epsilon nu would be in. If it has a rough breathing, it would be hin. If the omicron doesn't have it over it, it would be o. If it has it over it, it would be ho. So that is one of the things for your pronunciation that you will need to look at. And I will show you a little more detail about that as we begin lesson 2. The text that I use, and I will put a link up to Amazon, is New Testament Greek for Beginners. It is by J. Gresham Machen. I'm wanting to say he was Presbyterian. He was one of the premier Greek scholars through the early 1900s. I learned Greek using this text from French Arrington, who anytime you talk to him about Greek says always Machen. So I'll put you a link to this up. They've got an updated and revised version. This is the text that I generally use that I'm going to follow. I've got some other resources as well, but that's the main text. Feel free to leave some comments if you have questions, or I'll provide my email on this also to where you can email me if you have some questions. But that is lesson 1, very basic Greek alphabet, some basic grammar, punctuation, pronunciation. I'm excited to go on this journey with you of learning Greek so you can be able to study better and dig a little deeper into the text. I pray everyone has a blessed rest of the day, week, and month. Be blessed.